This session is called Goodbye Stress, Hello Life, and its focus is on healthy life from the Wellness Strategy. This afternoon, I would like to welcome Allan Kehler, is that how you pronounce it? To Be Well Day. Allan, I'm not sure how many people were at this morning's presentation, but Allan did a phenomenal presentation this morning, and I am very, very excited to hear him talk about some different strategies for handling stress and approaching it. So just for those of you that didn't meet him this morning, Allan is a highly sought-after speaker who aims to empower his audience to live opposed to exist. So I would like to welcome Allan to the stage now, and enjoy your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Christina. Okay. So just like this morning, if you attended this morning, there's a couple questions, true and false. So we'll see how you do. First question, by the way, how many of you are students? Just out of curiosity. Okay. So be honest with this one. A fellow student or just an individual in your life has caused you so much stress that you actually prayed for that individual to be sick or absent from your classroom or even the workplace or a family function. Anybody going with true? Oh, first hand up coming at you. Watch out for the coffee. Oh! So last week I actually nailed somebody's coffee, and so I'm going to try to be more conscious. Now, I appreciate the honesty with this one, and nothing terminal, maybe just a minor cold or flu bug. But I want you to think about somebody who you have anger towards or somebody who's caused you distress while I talk about this next slide. Because this is my youngest son, Malcolm, and for Halloween he was a hot dog. His 5-year-old brother at the time, hamburger. For the 11-year-old, mustard. 15-year-old, ketchup. At 15, as if, you do not get into the ketchup costume. But the way that I view adults is the exact same way that I view children. Children come into this world pure and innocent. No child comes into this world racist, correct? No child will come in this world wanting to inflict pain upon anybody else. So then we have to start asking ourselves, what drives this behavior? Why the pain? And I think for me, the answer is quite simple. It's that hurt people hurt people. So this is my challenge. Don't bite. If you have somebody who's always angry, and if you match that anger with more anger, what's the outcome 100% of the time? It'll always be more anger. It's like adding fuel to the fire. Compassion is the one thing that changes everything. It has the ability to change a culture of a workplace, of a school, of a family system, of society. And as soon as we can understand what drives that behavior, then we're in a much better position to move forward. Here's an example. I was speaking at a community event. I'm halfway through. This boy, who's not more than 10 years old, he marches right in front, and he stands in front of me, and his fists are clenched, and he looks up at me, and he says, "Will you stop talking?" I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't know what you would do. I just froze. And again, he yells at me and tells me to stop talking. And nobody from the community did anything, and thankfully, eventually, he retreated. He sits on the floor about 10 feet away, puts his hands over his ears, and he starts rocking himself back and forth. So I continue on. Shoot. 5 minutes later, he's back, and this time he looks up at me and he says, "Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!" And I think all I said is, "I can't." And then, again, thankfully, he retreats. After the presentation, it started to make sense. Why the behavior? So I came into this community. At that particular event, I was talking about addictions, self-harm, suicide, touchy topics. As a kid, when you grow up in an environment of addictions or of chaos or of imbalance, you learn 3 rules real quick. Don't talk, don't trust, don't feel. So I come into the community as a stranger. I start talking about his painful realities, but he does not have the tools to manage the feelings that are being festered inside. So what does he do naturally? He goes to the source, me, telling me to stop talking. And one of the key things that I want to do today is to hopefully give you some of those tools to manage the emotions. Next question. You will actually perform better under moderate levels of stress opposed to no stress at all. Who says true? Ooh, coming at you. Ready? Oh, yes. Nice. Any of you familiar with Yerkes-Dodson's law? Well, that's why we're here. Yerkes-Dodson's law says this. It says we need a little bit of stress to perform. We'll have our most optimal performance under moderate levels of stress, but what happens when the stress becomes too much? Does our performance increase or decrease? I need a brave volunteer, please, to demonstrate Yerkes-Dodson's law. It's not going to get too weird. I'm just going to toss some stress balls. So is anybody willing to come up to the stage? This isn't for pie face yet. This is for Yerkes-Dodson's Law. Anybody? Okay, big round of applause. Come on up to the front. Okay, feel free to safely make your way up the stairs. And your name again, sorry? Kristen? Kristen. All right, Kristen, here's what I would love for you to do. Please just stand against that wall. I'm going to toss you these 5 stress balls. I'll tell you exactly where they're going. We don't have to stand right at, maybe even 2 feet forward, yeah. So I'm going to toss you these balls. When you catch them, if you can please put them on the ground by your left foot. Make sense? Okay, this one's coming up over your head. It's coming to your left. Coming to your right. Coming low. A little too low. Coming at you. Big round of applause for Kristen. Now don't go anywhere. Great performance. For this one, Kristen, can you please just catch them? Yes? Ready? Go. Yeah, no, good job. Oh, big round of applause for Kristen. Okay, thank you. Keep one of those in case that caused you some stress. And we're going to talk about how this relates to Yerkes. Oh! Did you get one? Oh, I'm glad they're soft. Kristen, let's break this down. Oh, thank you. So here's what Yerkes-Dodson's Law says. We need a little bit of stress to perform. Kristen, for that first one, were you bored? Were you bored when stress balls were flying at you? Most people aren't. Did you feel like you had to focus? Sure. And how would you say your performance was for that first one? Wasn't bad. I think you're probably 3 or 4 for 5. So you fall under, ultimately you're close to the optimal performance. For that second one, did you perhaps feel a little overwhelmed? A little anxious? Kristen, you were right over here, and if I threw balls at you all day long, you might eventually cry. You might have a meltdown. All that it's saying is, well, actually, all that I'm using this for is for you to think about where you fall in this. Do you find that every day you can wake up, you can go to work, go to class, whatever it is, focus on the task at hand, you're proud of your performance, or do you feel as though every day you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed? If one more thing comes across my plate, I might potentially have a meltdown. And if so, no problem. That's why we're here. I'll try to give you some tools. But everything starts with acknowledgement. 1 in 4 working Canadians actually identified themselves as right there. Yerkes-Dodson's Law make sense? Moving along. Continuous stress reduces your IQ and emotional intelligence. Who says true? Get ready. Whoa, yes. So close. Actually, let's go back here for 1 second. At this point, IQ can drop as much as 15 points under stress. And it's for that reason, do you ever find that when you're under stress, you're not always proud of the decisions or choices that you make? One of my friends was a principal, small town school. Everybody knew that when the bell rang at the end of the day, all sporting equipment has to stay inside. But on one day, it was a 6-year-old boy who decided to challenge his principal's authority. So the 6-year-old stands in front of the principal while everyone's getting onto the bus, and he has a soccer ball in his hand, and he tauntingly tosses it up and down. So the principal says, "Put the ball inside," and the kid goes, "No." So the principal starts getting upset, and he says, "I said put the ball inside now." And again, "No." Then the 6-year-old punches the ball, it lands on the school roof, and he runs. And he jumps onto a bike, and he starts pedaling down Main Street. What does the principal do? He grabs the kid's bike, and he starts chasing him down Main Street while his knees are hitting the handlebars. And then he said to me, it got to a point, Al, where I thought, well, what am I going to do if I catch him? And thankfully, he didn't catch him, or he probably wouldn't have a job. But the point is, under stress, we often don't make the most healthy decisions. True or false? Let's say you're stressed, maybe a little bit sad. Taking drugs has the potential to make you feel good. Who says true? Oh, that one came up fast. Ready? Yes, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, that's bad. That's terrible. Somehow, I hope it makes its way to you. It is true, and this is the danger of drugs, because if we self-medicate, initially, often there's a reward, but in my case, too, spending years in addiction, then I became bonded to the substance, and there were a lot of negative consequences. So initially, sure, there's a reward, but over time, consequences. And here's what one young man said in terms of his experience. He says this: Drugs made me feel alive and normal, but they also made me anxious, paranoid, and self-destructive. Eventually, I began to see the ugly side of my using. I looked to drugs for courage, and they made me a coward. I found that the higher the drugs got me, the lower they brought me. Drugs turned me into a monster. Try to imagine what it's like to look into a mirror not being able to recognize your own reflection. So it speaks pretty strongly to that journey. And for myself, I avoided mirrors for 13 years. 13 years. See, mirrors show us who we've become. And I talked about this earlier today. An absolute importance to stop the focus from external and actually start to look at what's going on inside. The power of thoughts. What you think is what you will create. Who says true? Okay. Ready? Nice and easy. Yes. If you want to understand how healthy you are, pay attention to the way that you speak to yourself. Positive self-talk. I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of years talking to myself in ways that I would never talk to another individual. You ever do that? Sometimes we have to be a little gentler with self. Any of you read the book or watched the DVD, The Secret? Yeah, the law of attraction, manifestation. That's essentially, in summary, right there. What you think is what you will create. If you look at this picture, what do you see? Sure, a black dot. If you see, I don't know, a clown's face, we got to talk. But fair to say, there's a lot of white there too, but we're naturally drawn to often the dark or what's going wrong. Turn on a radio, pick up a newspaper. Is it about what's going right in the world or often wrong? And sadly, I suspect that if there was a station or a newspaper about everything that's going right, I'm not sure that a lot of people would actually tune in or read it. I just want you to think about where you allow your eyes to rest, because sure, I guarantee that you have personal struggles and challenges, but I also guarantee that you have a lot of things going right. One of my friends was recently complaining that he has to weed the garden. He has a garden to weed. Complaining to shovel the walk. You have a walk to shovel. Everything is about perception, but it is ultimately up to you in the way that you choose to perceive self, relationships, and the world around you. True or false? Emotions are energy. Who says true? Yes. We talked about this one before. Is it James? James, get ready. Yes, James. You and me. Think about this. If you have a garbage bag, and if you stuff that bag full of clothes, and you put more and more clothes inside that bag, what is eventually going to happen to that bag? It's going to tear, break, spill out. Same thing with emotions. If we do not manage our emotions properly, because you can only stuff so much in there, it's inevitable that eventually it's going to surface, and often it is released in a very toxic or volatile way. And it's for this reason that sometimes someone cuts you off and you're chasing after them with a, I was going to say a baseball bat, but you shouldn't have a baseball bat anyway. But you're chasing after them, and then you're thinking, man, what happened to me today? I just lost it. You know, what did you lose? Often it's just that you didn't manage the emotions properly. And so I think that in the context of healing, you can only suppress and store emotions for so long, and then they literally become frozen inside. And I think the only way to heal is then to thaw. Buddha says it very interesting around anger. He says holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Because it's suffocating. It's like drinking sand. There's one teacher says to the students, all right, class, everybody bring a bag of potatoes to school tomorrow. All the kids bring a bag of potatoes. And then the teacher says, what I would love for you to do is on each potato, carve the name of somebody who has caused you stress, anger, or somebody who you have anger towards. So the kids are busy and they fill the potatoes with different names. And then the teacher says, everywhere you go, you need to haul this bag with you. On the playground, on the bus, take it home. Well, by the next day, a lot of them are saying, this sucks. And of course, the teacher has a lesson behind this, and she just says, think of the names that you carved into those potatoes. Do you think that any of those individuals are renting out any headspace or any energy on yourselves, yes or no? And this is often how it is. We allow people to rent our headspace for free. True or false, you have felt guilty when you have placed your own needs before the needs of someone else. Now, I'm a people pleaser by heart too. And one woman said it this way to me. She says, "Al, but if I take care of myself, who will take care of everyone else?" And sometimes we have to understand that this is not selfish. This is about self-respect. I owe it to self to take care of self, with the understanding that if I do not take care of self, everything around me that I value will crumble. Correct? Sometimes we have to communicate, set up those boundaries so that we can ensure that our own needs are met. In the context of mental wellness, addictions, what I find often is it is a parent or caregiver who comes up to me after a presentation. It usually starts like this: "My son or my daughter, they're a good kid, but they're not doing very well." And so they will continue to talk about their child, and then usually after about 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I say something like, "I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm not so much concerned about your child as I am about you." And how do you think a lot of them respond emotionally? It's tears. More often than not, it's tears. And I think to myself, when's the last time that somebody actually asked them how they are doing? Because we can be very quick to become enmeshed in the relationships that we have with others while neglecting self and our own needs. So let's talk a little bit about stress. The short and sweet definition of stress. Anybody care to share your definition? We're a smaller room. It's a safe space. Or not. Shall I continue? Here's the way that I see it. It is your body's response to any emotional or physical demand, real or imagined, doesn't matter. And what causes me stress might be so insignificant to you, but for me, it's real. And one of my friends was a counselor. Into her office comes a young girl. I believe she was 12, maybe 15, can't remember. And then for the first 40 minutes, this girl just cries. Can't stop crying, can't even speak. And the counselor's thinking to herself, wow, this must be big. Finally, this young girl says, my boyfriend broke up with me. And the counselor's like, oh. But for her, that was everything, right? She didn't know that there would be other relationships. And this is where it's important for us to understand that an individual's stress is real to them and that we don't joke about it, but that we actually acknowledge and understand that. What I hear from a lot of people is a blanket statement, and they'll just say, ow, I am so stressed. And I'll say, what's causing you stress? Everything. And if you cannot identify the specific stressor or stressors in your life, then how can you possibly move forward proactively? And I'm going to ask you kind of 4 questions just to get the ball rolling around your own check-in. So do you find that you have trouble sleeping at night because you're worried about school or worried about work? You feel like you don't have enough time in the day to relax. Always too much on your plate. You skip meals, breaks, vacation time because you have too much to do. And this is interesting because often we are so busy that we have to neglect taking a break, whether that's having water, a coffee, but just sitting. And I mean, you look at any body of research, it always shows the exact same thing. Your performance will continue to deplete or decrease until you actually take a break and recharge. And it's also interesting how quick we are to medicate ourselves to fall asleep, and we medicate ourselves to stay awake. And the last one, do you feel as though you are constantly anxious? This ties into anxiety. So I want you to think about the one thing, you don't have to say it out loud, but just think about the one thing right now that is causing you the most stress, whether that's in your personal life, professional life, doesn't matter, but think about it. And now what would it look like if you had to identify all the things that are in your control about that stressor, and you had to write those all down on a piece of paper just like this, and on the other side of the piece of paper, you had to write down all of the things that are out of your control about that situation. So as you're playing that forward, which side do you think would probably be longer than the other? Do you think it would be the side of in my control or out of my control? Which one? Out of my control. Let's just summarize in life. What are some of the things that we have absolute 100% control over? What are they? What? All I heard is, what? Yes, exactly. The way in which we react to any given situation. I choose that. What else? Yes, my feelings. Nobody can control that for me. One more? True. If you ask for help, that's my call. My thoughts, my actions. Nobody can control my thoughts for me. Now, if you look at the other side, that list has the potential to go on and on and on. And why it's significant is because often when we actually pinpoint our stressor, and if you were to actually sit down and do this exercise and visually see, because you stepped outside of self, and visually see that this side is really long, well, with this piece of paper, you could rip it down the middle. What could you do with this side? Put it in a ball, burn it, bury it, put it in a balloon. Doesn't matter, get rid of it. And where do you think your focus is going to be? And just like that, life has the ability to get much easier. Like anything, it's easier said than done. But if you have this acknowledgement, then it makes life a lot simpler. What's the definition of anxiety? For me, the definition of anxiety is trying to control things that are out of your control. That's the short and sweet. Now, if you understand that, then start thinking about the things that you have control over and what you're going to do with that given stressor or situation. Does that make sense? Okay. Here's your three options. This is a summary after doing an activity like that. Your three options with that stressor. Number one, yes, you can remove yourself from the stressor. Two, you can attempt to change the stressor. Or your third option is you can accept the stressor. Short and sweet. If you can't accept it, change it. And if you cannot change it, leave it. So I'm driving to work recently. Half my tooth falls out. I have to go to the dentist. Not a big fan. I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to at least, have the dental care, but I struggle to sit in that chair. When I was there, I said, "Can I take a picture of that seat?" And the dentist said, "Sure." It's important because I call this the dentist chair effect, where perhaps you can relate to this. You're sitting in the dentist chair. They're doing some work in your mouth. And you have no idea how tightly you're gripping that armchair until you see the fingernails embedded in the armchair. So you ease off. And then if you're anything like me, 15, 20 seconds later, I'm doing it again. But even with stress, sometimes we're not even aware of what our body's telling us. And we normalize stress, and we think that this is just normal to always feel anxious, tense, tight muscles. Well, it's not, and it's not healthy. And I want to create this reaction in 3 brave volunteers through the game of Pie Face. Before we do that, let's just shout out or brainstorm ways in which our body communicates or tells us that, yep, we're under stress. So what happens to heart rate when we're under stress? Increase. Blood pressure? Muscle tension? Right. Often on guard. Some people have the grinding of the jaw, a robuxism. There's tension there, which puts tension on the TMJ, temporomandibular joint, which then leads to headaches. Some people sleep all the time. Some people can't sleep. But the body is communicating with us. Through Pie Face, as I said, we're going to communicate this. And this is actually my grandmother. 91 at the time. At Christmas, good sport, sat her down, entertained the great-grandkids. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to ask for 3 volunteers at separate times. As soon as you come up to the stage, you can put on the apron, which is optional but recommended. It's not going to get crazy, all out of control. But just so that you don't send me a dry cleaning bill. Then you're going to put your chin on here. I'm going to put a little bit of whipped cream. You're going to put your left hand here, right hand here. You're going to do 2 clicks forward. Whether or not that goes off doesn't even matter. You still have to answer a question. And that question will be true and false or multiple choice. And you can absolutely poll the audience if you want. And should you get that question right, then have a seat. Should you get it wrong, then you must spin the wheel, which will indicate how many spins you must do again. I have learned that people don't always want to naturally come and do this. So I've had to use bribery. If you're willing to be one of 3 volunteers, then please help yourself to a print from my friend Simone. I sat down with her and asked her to design these 2. This one speaks to community strength or people coming together around a common theme. This one speaks to getting back to the journey that you're meant to lead in the first place, and the people at the bottom are those who are in support of the journey that you choose to take. So maybe that changes some of you. Any volunteer to start us off? Okay, come on up. Big round of applause. So I'm going to put just a little bit of whipped cream. A little stressed? What's your name?
Kathy.
Right, Kathy. Apron, yes, no?
Oh, sure. Well, no.
Whoa, okay. Stepping up to the plate. Kathy says no. Kathy, please put your chin on there. Right hand here, left hand here. And how's your body feeling? Are you calm? You just want to get at her. You just want to get at her.
I'm fine.
There's no time for talking. Okay, 2 clicks out. Right now. Those things. 1, 2. Wow, that was fast. Okay. That doesn't usually happen that quick. All right, Kathy. We'll clean you off. Round 2. Well, you didn't get any on your clothes.
That's okay. I don't like wearing makeup anyway.
You feeling okay?
I'm fine.
Kathy, you don't have to do that yet. Unless you want to, because maybe it's so much fun. No, hang on. I have a question for you, Kathy. A, B, C, or D? Here's the question. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whoa! Kathy, hang on. Fine, you can stick with D, but let's just play this one out. There's an educational purpose here. The most common form of mental illness that affects children and teenagers is what? Just out of curiosity, show of hands who's going with A, anxiety disorder. Who says B, ADHD? Okay, yes. And who says C, depression? Anybody going with conduct disorder, which is like oppositional defiance disorder, which Kathy has already selected? Kathy, there's not a lot of people that are in agreement with this. It's actually anxiety. Well done. A lot of you got that right. Actually, these are the top 4 in order. Anxiety is the most common. Secondly was ADHD, with males 3-to-1 greater than females, and depression was 3rd. Kathy, what does this mean for you? It means you must spin the wheel. Oh. Yes. So spin the wheel. What's that say? Kathy, that says 5. That's bad. You can't get higher than that. All right, round 2. Good luck. 5 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hey, Kathy! Well done. Okay, grab yourself a print. Thank you for your time. And next volunteer. Oh, in the back. Or wait, who are you raising your hand? Not sure? Okay, you and then James, you're 3rd. Okay, come on up, please. And another big round of applause. Oh, you're removing the glasses. Right. Oh, yes, it's a bit of a meander for you. And your name, sorry? Danielle, would you like to wear the apron? Sure. Good call. Kathy, none got on your clothes. Kathy, I didn't even offer you a wet wipe. Do you need a wet wipe? Okay. Okay, Kathy. Have a seat. You know the drill. Yeah. Have you played before?
No.
Ooh.
But I played the wet head or whatever that one is, where you pull them out.
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, it's good.
Chin on there, right hand, left hand, 2 clicks outwards, then we'll reveal the question. Good luck. 1, 2. Woof. How's your body feeling?
I'm
Okay. Well, you can remove your chin from that rest, and here's your question. People have a shorter attention span than goldfish. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's false? What do you think? It's true. This was actually a study done by Microsoft Corp, and just before you spin the wheel, I don't know how they did the study, by the way, but they found that the attention span of a goldfish was 9 seconds. Humans came in at 8. And in fact, when they did this study 6 years ago, they found the attention span of humans was 12 seconds, so somehow we've lost 4. Okay, spin the wheel. How'd you do? 2? Nice. That's pretty good. 1, 2. Phew! Well done, like a seasoned pro. That was awesome. Okay, thank you. Help yourself to a print. Appreciate it. And James, is it? All right, big round of applause for James as he makes his way to the front. You're welcome. Thank you. James, have you played this before? I have not. Awesome. Okay. Apron? Please. Okay. Have a seat, please. And how's your body feeling? Anything surfacing? Any anxiety? Wow! You need to teach us. Okay, 2 clicks. Good luck. What? Ow! Okay. Oh, this is great. Okay. Well done, James.
I like how you reloaded in between, just in case I'm lucky enough to go up twice.
I feel like, well, we'll see how you do on this question, actually. Okay, James, here's your question. True or false? 50% of all doctor's office visits are stress-related. Do you think that's true or false?
True.
What do you think? I was so sneaky. It's actually 75 to 90% because I wanted to see this go on. So, James, that means you must spin the wheel. Oh, 5, that's not good. Good luck. Wow! Oh, you're a good sport. Do you need a wet wipe?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes. Okay, one more big round of applause for James. Help yourself to a print. And have a seat. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's talk about strategies. I call these the big threes. The big threes. The big 3. Walk, talk, write. Because sometimes when we're stressed, it is imperative that we just leave that stressful environment, walk with Mother Earth, see the trees, see the nature, see what's around, and as soon as we even move the body, then endorphins are produced, feel-good chemicals. I talked about this quite a bit this morning. My whole mantra, talking facilitates healing. I don't know if there's a greater tool than our voice. Maybe some of you can relate to this idea where you're a little stressed out, had a stressful day. Then you call up a good friend, you go for coffee, and for 15 minutes, all that you do is talk. They just listen. At the end of those 15 minutes, you sit back and you think, I feel better. Why? Because we talked about this, emotions are energy, and if you can free up the space and get some of that dark or toxic stuff out, it naturally makes more room for light. Writing, that third tool. Writing became one of my greatest tools. I didn't trust people, but you can pick up a pen and you can tell a piece of paper anything. You can write and write and write, and the key is not to think about what you're writing, but just write freely. And when you're done, if you want, rip it up, burn it, it doesn't matter. It is still doing the same thing where you're freeing some of those emotions. We're going to go through 3 ways in which we can recharge or replenish ourselves throughout the day. How many of you, just by show of hands, are familiar with progressive muscle relaxation? All right. How many of you are familiar with some acupressure points? And I have a little twist or variation on breathing. So here are the 3 that we're going to go through. Starting off with progressive muscle relaxations. Everybody stand up, please. And progressive muscle relaxation, if you're not familiar, it works like this. It says, there are a number of muscles in our body, and so we have to then focus on a particular muscle group, put all of our energy into that, hold it tense for 9 seconds, and then release the energy from that muscle. So there's 16 that are quite common. I picked a few. So to start off, scrunch up your face into a tight ball. Don't look at the person beside you. I don't have a camera. Scrunch up your face as tight as you possibly can. Hold it. Hold it. I should have brought a camera. No, okay, release. Hike up both of your shoulders. Drive them up as high as you can. Higher and higher towards your ears, focusing only on your shoulders. And release. Take your hands, both hands, scrunch them up into a tight ball. Feel the nails going into the insides of your palm. Tighter, tighter, tighter. Release. Okay, next one. Abdomen. No flatulation here this afternoon. Squeeze your abs together as tight as you possibly can. Go. And release. Take all, I shouldn't say 10 toes. One of my friends has 9. Scrunch up your toes into a tight ball in your shoes, sandals, boots. Curl them up. Tighter, tighter. Only focus on your toes. Release. Now try this. Try tensing every single muscle in your body. See what that feels like. Give it a whirl. Go. And release. Okay, have a seat. You're awesome. Give yourself a round of applause. Just for example, how many of you, when you lowered your shoulders, did you actually feel a bit of a release or difference? Just out of curiosity, show of hands. That's incredible. I mean, that was 9 seconds. So maybe what you need to do is bribe somebody to have a massage or access the EAP program, or don't give each other massages here because we have good, healthy boundaries. But the key, again, with progressive muscle relaxation is to think about where in your body you're storing the stress, in which muscles, focus on it, and release that energy. Good? All right. Here is a key acupressure point, because do you ever notice that when we are anxious, nervous, stressed, our hands naturally fidget? Why do our hands naturally fidget? Because instinctively, intuitively, our body understands that there are key points that can assist and help us in times of anxiety. So please take your left hand and put it in front of your face. Fingers pointing upwards to the ceiling, thumb going to that wall. And you're going to see a groove between the pointer finger and the thumb. Take your right thumb, put that right thumb in that groove, in that V, and massage that area back and forth. And while you're doing that, is it painful for some of you? But keep doing it. The pain will dissipate. And what's interesting is if you do this for 2 minutes, it can actually bring the system back into a state of balance. Don't do this while you're driving. You can actually also do it on the right hand, exact same thing. It provides the same response. Now, here's the variation. I tried this with my youngest son. I was trying to calm him down for bed, but it didn't work. But I think he did it wrong, so we're gonna do it right. Now, I'm sure that you're all familiar with the power of breath. And by the way, for people who've gone through trauma, we talked a bit about this morning, but for people who've gone through trauma, breath rarely gets past the chest. And one of the key factors to remember is to place your hand over your navel so that when you're taking in the breath, you can feel the rise and fall of the hand to ensure that you're getting enough oxygen. I'm sure you're familiar with envisioning white, pure, clean light in through the nose, and then you're blowing out the black, toxic smoke through your mouth. Maybe some people like to have a candle so you can imagine it fade away, or some people like the hot shower so you can envision it going down the drain, all that energy. This is a little different because there was a study that revealed that 80 to 90% of individuals breathe through one nostril more than the other. So if you're breathing more through the left nostril, which part of the brain is that activating? Right. And so this activity ensures that we are getting the same amounts of oxygen to our brain. So if you can just please stand up, let's go through this one. Take your left finger, pointer finger, and put it on your left nostril, please. Now take a deep breath in through your right nostril, now, please. and hold it. Put your right pointer finger on your right nostril and exhale. And when you run out of air, just pause. And then inhale through the same side. And then hold that. Then yes, switch fingers and exhale through the other side. It's like a farmer's blow. Need a Kleenex? Okay, have a seat. You understand? Now, yes, granted, this is going to look weird if you're sitting in your office or if you're in the classroom and you're going, but this one actually provided 5 direct outcomes. If you do this, same thing, 2 minutes, here are the outcomes. Number 1, it will lower your stress level. Second of all, decrease blood pressure. 3, improve cognitive functioning. 4, enhance creativity. And it even balances hormones. Not bad from breathing. Okay, thanks for doing those 3. This is one of our dogs. This is Lola. Lola just turned 2. Tanya, my wife, made her a cake. So there's some hamburger, bacon. Oh man, she didn't even chew. It was just gone. But I have never met anything in my life that has the ability to ground me as much as Lola. You know, there's a lot of things about pet therapy, and for me that has been really essential in my own well-being and healing. But there's a lesson in this too, because sometimes in this fast-paced world, we just go, go, go. And sometimes when we go so fast, we lose out on the journey that we're meant to lead with self. And sometimes it seems as though Creator, God, higher power, whatever you want to say, will put us in a position where we're forced to slow down. Maybe we get in an accident, maybe we get a disease, and then we find ourselves in a room, perhaps at a hospital, in a bed with self. And it's interesting because for a lot of people, it is in that moment where they do not have the external distractors and they realize that the focus is then on self, and they start asking some of those larger questions, and that becomes the catalyst for change. But unfortunately, it has to get to that point for a lot of people, right? Because we're so quick to focus on the needs of our partners, our children, colleagues, and it is essential, like the turtle teaches us, slow down, go within. I want you to envision as though every morning you're given $100 in $1 bills. Each of those dollars represents priority, the things that you value. And I want you to think about how you spend that money any given day. Because you could spend that $100 in school, you know, just studying, focusing. You could blow it all at work, which means that you won't have a lot left for the other things that you value. And this is what happened for me when I started off as an addictions counselor. And I remember coming home, and my kids would run up to me, and they're saying, "Oh, Dad, so good. Get off of me." I had nothing left. And as Tanya, my wife, was going downstairs, she stopped on the stairwell, and she turned, and she looked at me, and she said, "You know what, Al? I need a husband, and our children need a father." And I heard that, and I knew I had to do something different because I value my wife immensely. I value my time with my children. I value self-care, but I was burning it all at work. So then I had to really take a step back and think about, okay, what do I value and where do I want to spend that time and energy? And this is usually done through a handout, but there's no handout. So I hope that you can visualize yourself through this one right now. For yourself, just think about the things that are important to you, and think about on a daily or even weekly basis how much time and energy you put towards them. So typically you would have this in front of you as a worksheet, and you would identify all of your priorities, and then you'd have to put a numeric value which equates or totals 100. Does that make sense? Okay, so then think about where that priority would go. I mean, if you're in school, sure, no doubt a lot's going to go to school. If you're in the work, then probably 60, 65. But see, what I'm saying is sometimes we can be so out of balance that we're blowing it all and we're missing out on the things that we also value. So without going into more detail, does this make sense in how you could use the tool? Okay. I teach at the Saskatchewan Indian Institute of Technology. My students essentially are my teachers. I mean, I learn incredible things from them. But on the one course that I teach on the final exam, year after year, I ask the same bonus question, and I say, who's number one? And more than half of my students, every year, they say, you are, Al. Yeah, you know it. Bonus mark, check mark. No, who's number one? So let's put the focus back on you. Today is Thursday. Let's say 3 days. So by the time the sun sets on Sunday, I would love for you to do something just for you. Why? Because you deserve it. I would love for you to think about what you need and to communicate that to the people around you and to do it. Maybe that looks like a walk in nature. Maybe that looks like you curling up with a good book and reading it. Any of you been to the Moose Jaw Spa? Yeah. Tanya surprises me. We drop off the kids and we go to the Moose Jaw Spa. And you know, when you get to the hotel room, there's a robe. So before you go to the pool, you're supposed to put this robe on. Well, I put this robe on, and I actually walked differently. I felt like I had swagger. Then later, we go to the spa. I've never been to a spa. Right away, somebody comes in with a bowl of water, I guess, and there's flower petals in it. I don't know what to do, but when in Rome, so I'm looking around, and then she places this bowl on the floor, and so everybody's putting their feet, so I do that. And then everyone's so calm. I'm not calm. I'm trying to talk, and people are getting annoyed, and then next they start to do things to my feet, pedicure, I guess. Then my fingernails, nail beds, manicure. They start sandpapering my face. For this hour, I am baffled because everyone's just in their element and in their zone. It didn't work for me. If it works for you, awesome, do it. I might try again now that I know what I'm getting into. But you know what I do? For me, I play dodgeball. And in fact, last night was my first game in a while. And like, honestly, I can hardly move. And it's funny, I think I'm so fast in my head. So the ball will come, and I hardly get off the ground. And then this actually just happened recently where the ball's coming up my left leg, and I said in my head, Al, lift your leg. The ball hits me, and probably 2 seconds later, my leg goes up. So it's like the neurons aren't firing as quick. But that's what I do for me. So think about what you need to do for you and take the time to do it. Why? Self-respect. I wish that we had this in a handout, but I'm going to try to give you the visual because the medicine wheel essentially says that we need to pay attention to all 4 areas. If even one of the 4 areas is out of balance, then we will go through life out of balance. So it looks at the physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental element. Now, I want you just to think about self-reflection for a second. So just envision as though you have to give a numeric value to each of those 4 elements. And think about where you would be, with 1 being low and 10 being high. So just mentally make note while I talk about this one. Because the goal is at the end to actually plot it and take a look at what your own wheel looks like, with 0 being on the inside and 10 on the outside. So for example, if we start off with the physical domain, if you were to be in complete balance physically, what would that look like? You're probably getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. You're probably limiting salt and sugar intake. You're probably limiting caffeine intake, drinking 6 to 8 glasses of water, engaging in some kind of physical activity. That would perhaps get you to a 10. You know where I'm going? So think about where you would be. For the mental, what does it look like to be in complete balance mentally? Well, you're probably able to problem solve. You're proud of the decisions that you make. You can focus on what's going right, not wrong. You have positive self-talk, strong sense of self-worth, self-esteem. You get the idea. Think about where you would fall. And for the next one, spiritual. What does it look like to be in emotional. Missed that one. To be in complete balance emotionally, it means that you are able to be with your pain. You give yourself permission to cry if necessary. You don't run. You don't hold on to resentments. You don't hold on to anger. You can attend support groups. You can talk about your pain. And then that last one is spiritual. Not religion. Religion can be a stepping stone towards spirituality. But to be in balance spiritually, then typically the individual has a relationship or a connection with a higher power, whatever that may be. Perhaps they go to a mosque, a synagogue, a sweat lodge. They ask the bigger questions in life around identity, purpose, meaning, why am I here? They can go within. They're comfortable with self. They can perhaps take time to meditate. So just think about all those numbers, what your wheel would look like. And if you had to plot them, you would then have direct insight into self. And what I find is often we're not too happy with the way that our wheel looks. And I always say, if you're not happy with the way that your wheel looks, who's the one person in a position of power to do something about it? It will not come from the outside. It has to come from self. And this is where we have to communicate what we need. Does this activity make sense without it being in front of you? Okay, perfect. In the context of school, I love this. This is from Chatelaine magazine, not that I'm a regular subscriber. But this is what was pulled from it. And somebody said this: schools need to be a place where we learn to be human. We focus so exclusively on academic subjects that we forget that schools have a responsibility for social and emotional development as well. And I think that sometimes this gets lost, where we put so much focus on the curriculum or on the textbook that we miss out on the person, right? Same thing in the context of a workplace. We focus on work and we forget about the employee or their unique needs. In summary, there are 5 key things that we kind of covered. That first one, my challenge for you is to not bite, that anger plus anger only fuels more anger, and that compassion is the one thing that has the ability to change everything. In other words, to try to figure out what drives that person's behavior. It is important to identify your stressors so that you can move forward. The third thing that we discussed, it is absolutely essential to determine what is in your control and out of your control, and the things that are out of your control, we're not going to focus on. We're going to place our focus back on the things that we can control. Fourth one, pay attention to what the body is telling you, and that's where good old pie face came in with the body signals, and we need to listen and honor that. And then the fifth one, take care of number 1, take care of self. Oh, if you're going to creep on me anyway on Facebook, Out From the Shadows is just a page that has some things, or Twitter. There's a couple of videos on YouTube. Even some of those handouts that I was alluding to, if that's of benefit to you personally, if you would like to work through it, then please just grab a business card or go to my website, fire me an email, and I'll just email you the PDF file so that you have that resource in front of you to work through. So, thank you so much for taking the time to come. And before we leave, Christina, I need you to come up to the stage for 1 second, please. Big round of applause for Christina! So Christina was my go-to. She contacted me and was a big part in making all this happen, as was Kurt in the back and Raylene. I'm not sure if you're here, but thank you so much for connecting with me and for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much.
Greatly honored.
Thank you.
Big round of applause!